Welcome, fifth graders, to Home Learning Day 21, week of April 27th, 2020. Fifth grade U.S. history. Well, boys and girls, I hope things are going well. I could not imagine that you did not enjoy that Lewis and Clark video from last week. I thought it was very well done. Hopefully, your notes are all finished and ready to discuss when we have a chance to get together on a video or something. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll figure it out. So make sure you don't lose those. We're going to move on now to talk about the American Revolution. But before we do that, it's really important that we discuss the French and Indian War. The French and Indian War was also known as the 7-Year War. We are going to need to have a note sheet like this for the American Revolution, just similar to the one we did for Lewis and Clark. The Lewis and Clark one, we looked at people, events, learned, and questions. For the American Revolution, we're going to focus on people, events, causes, and consequences. Why is the French and Indian War so important to know when you study, or before you study, the American Revolution? Some people know it as the 7-Year War, which there is a reason why it does not add up to 7 years here. If you look at that closely, you can see that that's not 7 years, but that is how long the war lasted. But it wasn't just a war in North America. It turned out really to be the first world war between two great empires. The Empire of France, which was in control of this part of North America, and probably more down to here too. I don't know how realistic this map is, but they probably had more control of all of this through the Great Lake area. And the British. The British had, of course, these colonies right here that we know about. And, of course, Spain was down here. And it turned out to be a world conflict between the two remaining empires. Spain had lost some power. They were still a big empire, but the big empires were the Empire of France and Great Britain. Now, if we take a look at our globe, we can see North America is over here, and there's this big giant body of water called the Atlantic Ocean between North America and the homelands of France and Great Britain. France and Great Britain both developed and conquered many lands around the world, and now they were facing off trying to control and have power throughout the world. So when they started to have conflict in North America, they had to enlist allies to help them. They had to the British enlisted the help of their people in their colonies, and the French enlisted the help of the Native Americans and people from Canada, the people who are settling in Canada. Now, the French really had probably a more superior army in the world, and really were superior in land battles than the British. The British were the best with their naval powers. So at the beginning of the war, the 7-Year War, that was part of the North American conflict, which we know as the French and Indian War, the French soundly defeated the British forces around Pittsburgh, where present-day Pittsburgh is right now, and their leader was somebody we know well in history, George Washington. He was 21 years old, and he lost. So, but because the war lasted a long time, and the British had a lot of colonists that were loyal to their country, and the British were able to last longer in the war. The French did not settle North America like the British did. They saw it more as a business opportunity and had made many allies with the Native Americans. However, in their relationships with the Native Americans, they made a vital mistake, which probably cost them the conflict in North America and lost the French and Indian War. The vital mistake that the French made happened 40 to 50 years earlier during the Battle of Butte-des-Morts. That's right here, boys and girls, right here in our backyard, where there was some battles near the Big Lake Butte-des-Morts and Little Lake Butte-des-Morts, which our community is right next to. The Native American group or community that we know of as the Fox Indians were stopping people, stopping traders, stopping the voyagers as they were passing along through the highway of what we know as the Fox River today, going to fur trading outings and meeting up with merchants to trade their goods with, to trade with the other Native American groups. And the Fox would come out to the edge of the river and raise a torch and call the voyagers over who were transporting these furs and trinkets back and forth between Native American communities and Quebec, which then would, send those to Europe for profit. And they would call these voyagers over and tell them that they had to pay a toll. And if not, the Fox Indians would take everything. So they had to pay a tax. Well, the French did not like this at all. This was hurting their business, and the king particularly, because then he got less taxes. So an army from Quebec was sent down in 1716, I believe it was, and the French caught up with the Fox at the present day, around the present day village of Butte-des-Morts, by the large Lake Butte-des-Morts, and the 3-day siege. They call it the Siege of Butte-des-Morts, and they bombarded the Fox, and the Fox surrendered. They promised they would behave themselves and not bother the traffic going up and down the rivers. Well, after a while, of course, the Fox forgot about this because the French army left, went back to Quebec, and the Fox went back to their old ways of charging a tax or a toll or a tribute from the passerbys. Well, of course, the French could not let this stand, and they ended up sending a large army of 1,400 troops to catch up with the Fox and take care of business and basically eliminate them in 1728. Well, the Fox found out that the French were coming. They left. It was late, so late in the year, so the French went back to Quebec to winter there, and were hoping that maybe the Fox would receive the message. Well, they did not. They continued their ways of charging tolls. The fur traders did not like this. It was causing a lot of problem with other Native American allies of the French, like the Menominee. So something had to be done. So in 1730, I believe, the French commissioned a fur trader businessman, Captain Morand, I believe his name was, and he led a group of French soldiers and volunteers and some Menominee Native Americans down to confront the Fox again. This time, they would not let the Fox get away. They disguised themselves as voyagers, fur traders, and sailed a fleet of large canoes down, or I guess up the river, And as they were passing down Little Lake Butamore, around about the place where Fritzie Park is, they were confronted by the fox. The fox came out to ask these canoemen to come over to their side of the river and pay the toll. However, Morand shouted, "Nope, nope, stay away from the canoes," and they proceeded on their way. Well, the fox would not let this go and proceeded to get in their canoes and head out towards the who they thought were voyageurs to grab up all the goods they wanted and take, probably take everything. Well, as the warriors of the fox got close to the voyageurs, they were surprised when the tarps that were over the top of these canoes were whipped off, and underneath all these canoes, this fleet of canoes, was a big army of Frenchmen and their allies pointing weapons at them. Morand commenced to order them to fire. They chased the fox back up the shore. The fox ran up the shore to their village to find that some Menominee Indians had circled around the other side, and they were trapped between the French and the Menominee. It did not go well for the fox. Another battle happened shortly after that. I don't know if these were the fox that were chased across land over to the community of Winneconne, or if this was a little while later, a few days or weeks or months later, occurred over at Winneconne, where many Menominee confronted the fox. I don't know if the French were involved. I don't know if we really know, but the fox were really, that whole village was destroyed. And the French were confronting the fox throughout the Great Lakes area. The fox were in over on the other side of Lake Michigan, over in Michigan, lower Michigan, and the French and the fox did not get along well. They were treated very poorly. Many of them were killed. The remaining fox ended up in Iowa. And this was a lesson to many Native American communities that supported the French, that made them feel like the French were not to be trusted. Unknown to the Native Americans, it's really the British were the ones to be looking out for. The French really weren't bent on eliminating all the Native American communities. They saw the Native Americans as people that they could do business with. The British, on the other hand, saw the Native Americans as people in which they could take their land. So during the French and Indian War, some historians say that because of the way the Fox were treated, that they did not as many Native Americans came to the aid of the French. And because of that, because of how long the war went, the French ran out of people to fight the war and materials to fight the war. And the British were able to catch up over in North America and had the allies of their colonists, and because of those resources, won that war. Now, it wasn't just the cost of the French and Indian War, but the whole 7-year war across the world that cost the British government a lot of money, and they were looking to recoup their losses, and that made them want to tax the colonists more. And that was probably one of the great reasons why the American Revolution happened. And once the land was cleared away to the west of the Appalachian Mountains where the French were, the Americans, the colonists, thought, whoa, all right, some land, let's go for it. Well, the British government said, no, We're just saving that for the Native Americans, and we're not gonna, quite take that yet. Well, the Americans were like, whoa, in the American colonies, hey, who do you think you are? You're way over there on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. We can do what we want. And yeah, I want you boys and girls to watch the attached link down in the description about the American Revolution and take some good notes on your note sheets and enjoy that. And hopefully we'll be talking soon. But before we do that, let's take some time and take a little field trip to Little Lake Butemoor and visualize the Battle of Butemoor. Boys and girls, this would have been the view, or a similar view, that the French would have seen as they approached the Fox. We are on the north side of Little Lake Butemoor now, and you can see that is the bridge that connects Menasha to Fox Crossing, and south of that bridge there is probably where the battle took place. We don't know for sure, but we'll be heading down there now and just take a moment to visualize that historic event. I visualize the French seeing something more like this. This is the backside of Strobe Island. The river wasn't as wide back in those days. At this point, I visualize the Fox raising their torches and calling for the French to come over to pay their toll. The French would have continued up the river, probably right about there where you see the bridge was where the Fox would have started coming out to meet them. So as the French were moving up the river, I imagine this is the spot in which the Fox came out to meet them. At this point, the French threw off the tarps and started shooting the Fox and chased them back over there. A few last words, fifth graders. I'm still waiting for some photos of your best map that you thought you did the best coloring and making a key for. I'm looking forward to seeing some of those. Please, take these notes serious that you're going to make your note sheet, and save the one from the Lewis and Clark. And next week, I was hoping that we could spend that week making a mural of some of the things we've learned about in the American Revolution, and some of the people. So, work hard, do what's right, and remember, as always, go Zephyrs!